Imagine you're responsible for upgrading hundreds of Revit models to the latest version, opening each file manually, waiting for it to load, saving, and closing. It will take hours or even days. What if I told you that we could automate the entire process with just a single click? Hello everyone, I'm Clement, and I'm here to show you how fun and easy it is to create your own Revit plugin using Python, even if you have never written a line of code before. In this lesson, you will learn how to select multiple Revit files or an entire folder using a user-friendly dialog, then automatically open, upgrade, and save each model while keeping a backup of the old version. Finally, eliminate hours of manual works with a simple yet powerful Python script. No coding experience? No problem. We will break everything down step by step using my Funful formula. Make sure that you can get the instant result without feeling overwhelmed. Let's dive in. Before we dive into coding, let's first understand what we are building. The tool follows 3 steps. User select Revit file or a folder. Each model is opened, processed, and saved. The upgraded models are saved and closed automatically. This is exactly how the BIM automation tool works. Instead of clicking through the menus, we will make Revit do all the heavy lifting. Here are 2 ways to select Revit files from your computer. The first one is manually select multiple Revit models one by one. The second one is select a whole folder containing models. In this script, we will group these 2 methods into separated Python functions, so you can choose the one that fits your needs. If you don't fully understand the code yet, don't worry, I will explain everything in detail. For now, just copy and paste these functions into any text editor and run them. So, let's go into detail one by one. First, what does this box do? This box allows users manually pick the files they want to process. It supports multi-function selection, so they don't have to pick one file at each time. It only allows .rvt and .rfa file, this preventing users from selecting the wrong file type. Now, what if you want to process all Revit models inside a folder instead of selecting file one by one? That's where our second part, folder selection, comes in. So, what does this box do? From here, user can select an entire folder instead of picking file one by one. This will reduce user error. All the Revit models inside a folder will be processed. It's great for batch automation rather models are stalling in a structural way. What if the selected folder contains some non-Revit files? We need another function that scans the folder and collect only the Revit file for those .rvt and rfa. That's exactly what this box does. It ignores other file types, ensuring only Revit models are processed. If no files are found, it returns an empty list instead of crashing. Now we have both manual file selection and folder selection method. You can choose whatever method works best for your workflow. Once we have the file path, we can automatically open, upgrade, and save them using the following function. The following function will open the model. If it is a work shared model, it will detach and preserve the work set to avoid any issue. Then it will save, close, and move to the next file. All hands-free. Copy and paste this script into any text editor, run it in Revit. You will see all your models and families automatically open, upgrade, and save in just a few clicks. No more manually opening each file, waiting for its loading, saving, and closing. With automation, you can batch upgrade hundreds of models while you grab a coffee or focusing on high-value BIM tasks. If you are new to PyRevit or need help setting it up, check out my PyRevit setup tutorial in the description below. This video will guide you step by step to ensure everything works smoothly. So what just happened? Let's start with the first magic word. It is from Revit import form. This import Revit's built-in form module, which allows us to create dialogues, message box, and UI interaction inside Revit. While we don't use it directly in this script, it's often included in Revit script for better user interaction. The second one is import OS. The OS module is like Python's file manager. It helps us navigate folder, reading files, and check if a file exists. In this script, we use it later on to scan a folder and filter out non-Revit file. Make sure that we only process .rvt and .rfa. And the third one is from Microsoft Windows API Code Pack Dialog Import Common File Dialog Filter. This line imports a modern file selection tool from Windows. This module provides a user-friendly dialog, allow user to select file with a filtered file format or a whole folder at once. This makes our script easier to use, especially when dealing with batch processing. For next one, the app equal to Revit.application. This is the connection between our script and Revit. It tells our script, hey, we are working inside Revit and we need access to Revit's function. With this, we can open, process, and save Revit model directly without manually clicking button in Revit. Why are these imports important? Because without this import, our script would not be able to select file, scan folders, or open model in Revit. Instead of manually clicking the open, then browse, then save button for each model, we let Revit handle everything automatically. Now that we have our toolbox ready, let's move on to the next part, selecting the Revit file. Here, we need to understand what Python function is. A function in Python is like a smart tool that performs a specific task whenever you call it. Instead of writing the same code again and again, we group reusable action into a group call function. Thinking of it like a coffee machine. You press a button, which means that you call a function, and then the machine will grind the bean, heat the water, and return a coffee, which means that it's executing the code, and you will get a drink as you want. This is what the function return a value. By inputting different commands, like different types of coffee, the machine will process the same step to give you the result. Therefore, by using function, we make our script cleaner, easier to maintain, and reusable for future adding. In Python, functions start with def and often return a value using a return keyword. You can reuse the file pick function and folder pick function in any place in your code with this command. Select file equal to browse file, or select path equal to browse path. Let's dive deep into the function. For the first line, common open file dialogs. We create a new file dialogs window by calling this statement. This is like clicking on open file in any software and launch a window file selection window. And the second one is the file dialog.title. We set the title of the dialog window as select files. And the third one is folder picker. We select is folder picker for forced because we only want the user to select file, not folder. We will do the reverse setup as true on the folder picking dialog function. And the fourth one is the multi-select equal to true. We allow user to select multiple files at once instead of picking them one by one. And the fifth one is the file dialog.filter. This only happens in file selecting dialogs as we set a filter so the user can only see and select Revit models or families. For the next one is the show dialog. This will display the dialog window and wait for the user to make a selection. And lastly, it is the try, return something, and accept, return something. If the user select file and click OK, the function returns a list of the file path. If the user closes the window without selecting anything, the function returns an empty list. That means there's no file path selected. This try except block is a Python statement. It will ensure that if something goes wrong, the script won't crash, as you just return an empty list, which means that no file is selected. This is useful because it prevents error when users change their mind and want to close the selection windows. Great! Now that we can select files or an entire folder, the next step is to actually process them inside Revit. Before we write the full automation, let's think. We have the file path, but how do we open them? Once opened, how do we handle work share model? How do we ensure every model gets saved and upgraded without error? Okay, let's break it down step by step. Instead of manually opening each file, waiting for it to load, clicking save, and closing it, our script will do it all for us. Let's break down the open and save Revit functions step by step. The first one is print. You see keyword print. Print is a Python built-in function that outputs a text from a user input. Imagine running this script on 100 models. You would not want to stay there and wonder what happened behind the scene, right? This simple print command acts as a status update so you can see which file is currently being processed, like a live progress tracker. The next one is for convert user visible path. So, what is this? Revit does not work with normal file path, just like if you put something on a desktop, it will not in C drive blah 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 something desktop.model. It will not something like that. Instead, it requires a special model path format. This command will convert the file path into a format that Revit understands. For the next one is the open option. If the file is a work shared model, it needs to be detached from the central model before saving. This prevents unwanted synchronizing issue when upgrading files. By default, this script preserves the work set, but you can change the setting as follows. The first one is detach and discard work set. This will make it to be a non-work set file, remove all work set, or you can choose to not detach from central. This will keep it linked to the original central model, but it is not recommended because we are doing the batch upgrading. And the other way to do so is clear transmitter save as new central. This will be useful if you want to create a fresh central model from each upgraded file. The next one is to open the Revit model. This command will open the file inside Revit, which make it ready for process. And then we'll prepare the save. This will prepare the document for saving. This saves the model and closes it automatically, so the script can move on to the next one. The fourth inside the close to ensure that Revit does not save again before closing. Once the model is processed, saved, and closed, this statement will print a confirmation message. You can monitor the progress directly in the Revit console. Up till now, we have completed the function preparation part. Let's move to the main content. Combine these functions together to complete the upgrade process. To start with, we choose either a folder selection or menu file selection. Before running the script, we need to check whether the user actually selected any file, so we will add this statement, if selected file. This will check if the selected file contains a file path, then the script will process. If this is an empty list, which means there's no file path selected, it will skip the process and give you a return no file selected. The next one we will give it from autodesk.revit.db import star. Star means importing everything from the Autodesk Revit.db. DB stands for database. Since we are working with the Revit model, we need to import the Revit API function that handles the opening, saving, and detaching model. This ensures that the open option, the detach from central option, and save option work properly. So, why do we need to import here? but not at the top. Revit functions are only needed when files are actually selected. Importing them inside the conditional statement makes the script more efficient. So after that, it will look for each file and process it inside the for file in selected file. This iterations through all the selected file and call the open and save Revit file function for each one. Each Revit model is opened, upgraded, saved, and closed automatically. This loop ensures that every file gets processed without requiring manual input. If 100 files are selected, the script will process all 100 one by one. For the last statement, it is the else print no file selected. As I mentioned, if no file were selected, we don't want the script to break or show an error. Instead, it simply shows me that no file selected, letting the user know that they need to run the script again and choose the file. Today, we have learned how to select file and folder effectively, automate Revit model opening, upgrading, and saving. We eliminate tedious manual work and save hours of time. But this is just the beginning. Want to take your Revit automation to the next level? I'm working on a full automation course that will help you eliminate 90% of the manual Revit tasks with simple script. Turn your script into professional plugin even if you are new to coding. Secure, disappear, and monetize your Revit tool so you can make passive income. What's the next boring Revit task you wish you could automate? Drop your idea in the comment or in the survey. Your idea will become the next lesson. Now we have automated the batch upgrading. Let's take it a further. Batch exporting NFC file for Navisra coordination. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. I will see you there.